All right, Brennan Taylor here, True School Sports. I'm with heavyweight prospect Zach Spiller. Nice having you here, Zach.
Hey, appreciate you, man. It's been a long time coming. We
Yeah,
spoke some years ago about doing an interview, man.
yeah, it's been a couple years. I remember the first time I met you. You were down at Salas Gym out there in Vegas. It was like summer 2021. You were sparring Joe Joyce.
Yep.
Yeah. So
Yeah, I was definitely, I still remember that day pretty vividly, man.
yeah, why is that? Is there a reason why?
Well, that was just like, so that was the point where I just quit my job and started doing boxing full time.
Okay.
And I just recovered from COVID. Like I had
Okay.
COVID really bad, man. I was out for like 25 days, like sick as hell before I could actually start like gaining my traction back in boxing. So like that was like my first real sparring moment coming back and like, just putting my foot in the boxing game full time.
Okay. And that was you're sparring the top guy too as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. You said you quit your job. What were you doing before boxing?
I worked for a company here in Texas called HEB. I was working.
Oh yeah. I know HEB. I lived in Texas for a year, so I know about HEB.
Oh yeah. So you know about the HEB, but yeah, I did that. I was there for almost 9 years.
Okay.
And I was working in transportation when I left, and I was unfulfilled doing it. So I know that I wanted to box, and the people behind me believed I could do something big in this sport. So I took a leap of faith, man. And now I'm going on almost 3 years. I'm at 2.5 years doing this full time. I quit my job that right around the time that I met you. So
okay,
it's been a good journey, man.
Yeah, man. I guess I've had a good vantage point of your journey, so I'm happy to be doing this interview. You're 4-0 now, and I've known you for a couple of years, but a lot of people in boxing still aren't quite familiar with you, Zach. So I kind of want you to take it to the beginning, like what drew you to boxing? What influenced you to pick up the gloves? Because this is not a sport for the faint of heart,
Yeah, definitely. I'm actually 5-0 now. I fought last weekend on
Okay.
Zerto's first promotional fight. And
Okay.
yeah, I fought last weekend, got another second round stoppage. So I'm currently sitting at 5-0.
I seen it on Boxrec. I didn't realize because I think the date was like December 8th, right, or something like that.
Yeah, fought December 8th.
Yeah, yep. I seen that. I didn't process that. Maybe you had already fought when I was looking at it.
Yeah, but I've been it's been. Hold on, man. My bad, bro.
Go.
What was you asking me again?
The question was, what drew you to boxing? Like what influenced you to pick up the gloves?
So I have a lot of family members that have boxed.
Yeah.
I don't believe anyone's made it to the highest level, but a lot of my family, they not only just boxing, just martial arts in general. But I used to fight a lot when I was younger, believe it or not.
Like most fighters.
Yeah, I used to fight a lot when I was younger, and one of my friends, I had got to a fight with his little brother, and me and his little brother at the time was the same age. He was the older brother.
Okay.
And then he told my mom that she should put me in boxing. So for my 16th birthday, my mom took me to the boxing gym and put me in boxing. And I've kind of just been around it ever since then. I wasn't as consistent back then.
Yeah.
But I decided after I had like some major surgeries, I was like, man, I want to be able to say that I put my best foot forward and say that I tried, instead of saying like I could have been this and could have been. I didn't want to be that guy. So that's how I initially got into it. And then I started competing in 2015. I only had a total of 4 amateur fights.
Yeah, real short career in the amateur ranks.
Yeah, man. But I had got a lot of injuries around that time. So it kept me out the ring from my last amateur fight was in 2016, and it kept me out the ring all the way up until my pro debut, which was early last year.
Okay.
Yeah. But that's just, how I got into boxing, and it's been a crazy journey, man. Just getting to learn the business, understanding, the different levels of fighters, the way these fighters think.
Yeah.
How the business works, man. It's been a very crazy journey, but I appreciate the journey at the end of the day.
You mentioned something very important, which I always tell fighters is like it's almost important to have this part down right as much as it is to have a good jab, which is the business. What's been like the biggest eye opener about the boxing business? Because I know for people that aren't like involved in it, it could hit you like a train.
Yeah, that's why I have to explain to my friends a lot, because they'll be like, well, why aren't you fighting so often and this and that? And I'm like, it's the business of it.
Yeah.
Of course, I haven't dove like deep into the business yet myself, but I've been around people who, are deep into it. And, the first thing I always tell people that they got to understand, and, this is just my opinion of it, I'm pretty sure other people share this opinion, is that boxing is a business first and a sport second.
That's right.
Yeah, so that's just something you gotta, money rules this world and boxing that we're in. So that's just, the bottom line of it. When, like right now I'm at a position where I have to pay for my opponents and people just don't understand that concept. And that's a part of why I have such big layoffs, because my opponents ask for so much money to fight me, and I don't have any financial backing at the moment.
Yeah.
So, it's one of those things, I got to, figure those situations out. And, luckily at the end of this year, I've met some really good people. Shout out to Zerdo, shout out to Thurgood Marshall for giving me an opportunity to get active again and, be able to showcase my ability and show my improvements in the ring. And I finished the year off with a bang.
That's amazing to hear. And yeah, shout out to Zoto and Thurgood for giving me the opportunity. Yep. As far as the business is concerned, like I always tell people that building a fighter, it costs money, Like me, I have this, I don't want to say it's a dream, but I have this new ambition, you could say. I mean, I'm thinking about maybe getting into managing maybe 1 or 2 fighters. Yeah. And even me, it's like, well, it costs money to build a fighter. So sometimes when I go on YouTube and I read comments to my videos downplaying a fighter's resume, yeah, there's guys that duck and dodge. That does happen. But there are some fighters that are really good. They just don't have the investment to, build their career the way they want to. So they got to come in as the B side and take fights, that maybe they're not ready for, and then they get losses. Exactly. And yeah.
Yeah, like a lot of these guys come in and, they get put in bad positions early. And the worst thing that can really happen to you in boxing is getting put in a bad position early, especially if you're not the most talented or you don't work the hardest. Like your career can get derailed in an instant. Like I've had people ask me about fighting one of my homeboys, and I'm just like, I don't want to fight him. And not in a sense of
who was your homeboy?
Huh?
Who was your homeboy?
His name is Dino Minor.
Okay.
Yeah, Leonardo Minor, man. So, they brought that up, and I talked to Dino about it. And the one thing I looked at, I'm like, if I'm gonna fight one of my homeboys, I want to get paid for it. I want both of us to get paid for it. Also, I don't want to derail. I don't want to be responsible for derailing anyone's career this early on, because you know how bad a loss in boxing can hurt you. So it's one of those things like, for that reason, I'm just like, we're not gonna fight just yet.
Yeah,
it has to make sense. Like when you make decisions in this game to fight people, it needs to make sense on both sides, and it needs to make sense because everything needs to be in the thinking of being progressive and advancing your career. And I'm starting to understand that now. And then like you said earlier, just to touch base on that, like that's why you see these fighters move the way they're moved, because people got money invested in them and they want to make their money back and shit like that. So like I said, it's a business first and a sport second. And that's something that it's been difficult for me to understand, especially this year, because, everything I've done in this game has been so personal. Like I'm very close with my teammates and my coach, and I've operated within that.
And so you're competitive. You're a competitive guy.
Yeah. And then, like starting to work with people on the outside of my team, like you're like, can I trust these people? I don't know. I have trust issues, it's
I think when you're dealing with people that aren't with your team, and even people within your team at times, you got to have a healthy amount of skepticism, because boxing's a small world, and sometimes people are trying to, screw you before you screw them type thing. So
yeah, for sure. And that's not how I try to operate, man. Like I said, everybody.
Me neither. But I just learned that over the years.
Yeah, but a lot of people in this game operate like that, like you just said, and everything I've done has been so personal. I have a good relationship with almost everybody I've come and encountered in this sport. You know, the people I've chosen to have a relationship with. You know, I don't try to do bad. I don't talk shit to nobody. I don't say nothing bad. But, you know, one thing I do know when it's time to get in that ring, punch you in the face. You know,
Got to turn
like,
that switch on.
Exactly. But that's just like the, you know, typical boxing shit that we all deal with.
Yeah. So for people that don't know, you're I guess how you grew up. I saw that you were born in St. Louis, but that you're in Texas now. So like, what was your upbringing like as a kid and a young man?
Well, I lived in the St. Louis area. I lived right outside of St. Louis till I was 10 years old, and I moved to Kentucky for about 7 months.
Okay.
And then I ended up in Texas. I've been in Texas almost my whole life. You know, I'm almost 30 years old. I am 30 years. I'm about to be 31, and I've been in Texas for 20 years now. So,
okay.
My upbringing, like I would say, like I've dealt with a lot of you know, just had some insecurities, and also like when I was younger, you know, had some insecurities, didn't have like no belief in myself. You know, like that's why early on in boxing, I kept coming in and out because I would get discouraged a lot. But as I've gotten older and just, you know, learned how to navigate life differently, grown, created an opinion for myself, you know, like I've become the man I am today. But I didn't have no rough upbringing. I just, you know, I had my mom, my stepdad for a while, and then, you know, my mom was a single parent up, you know, through most of my teenage years up until I was an adult. But I didn't have no bad upbringing. You know, I didn't really struggle. You know, my family made sure I always was taken care of. I always had the basic needs and stuff like that. But I've always been like I've always had friends and associates, but I've always kind of just been like in my own little corner in a way until I started really learning how to, you know, trust people and build like stronger relationships and friendships like that. Just typical stuff growing up as a kid. Just a normal, typical kid, man.
Okay, yeah, because it's not healthy to isolate yourself from people. You know, I'm kind of similar in a sense because like I've always been like to myself. Like I grew up by myself, so I like my alone time. I love my alone time, but it's not always healthy for you.
Yeah, I'm the same way, man. Like I gotta have my alone time, but since I started this boxing shit, man, like I'm just surrounded by people constantly, and you know, there's people I consider my family, so it's not a problem. You know, but it's definitely been a change for me, you know, just having people around constantly.
Yeah. Well, you learn and you adapt, you know, you adjust to things.
Exactly. Yep, for sure.
Well, I mentioned in the beginning of the interview when I met you, you were at Salas gym. I remember that you were down there with Darius Fulgham, who's now like a prospect for Golden Boy, which back then I didn't know much about Darius. Like later on, I wound up learning about Darius, but you sparred Joe Joyce that day. You sparred a lot of people, like a lot of names. Hrgovic, Jared Anderson. How has that like leveled you up as a fighter?
So I always tell people now basically that these camps that I've been to and these sparring sessions has been my amateur career. Like that's where my experience comes from. That's where I learn everything. And, you know, that's where I'm learning how to become just a more technical fighter and just a better fighter in general, and how also just to carry myself mentally. Like these guys have set an example to me, you know, even though I'm older than some of them, you know, like they've set an example to me, you know, of how I should, you know, try and think on a daily basis, you know, the elite mindset. So like I would say it definitely starts mentally. Like I still remember the time that I went, a first time ever sparring Filip.
Okay.
I went to Croatia to spar with him, you know, but he had, you know, some issues going on, so I never even got to spar with him while I was there. And then he came and started training with Ronnie Shields. And I still remember the first time I went to spar with him, and my mindset was, I'm just trying to compete. You know, and Darius was like, bro, you don't think like that. Don't ever say that. Don't talk about yourself like that. And I went in there and I'm going toe to toe with him. You know, like I'm showing that I belong. You know, I feel like I'm showing like I belong, and that was like a huge turning point for me. Just period in boxing, I would say. You know, like I did camp for 10 weeks with Filip, so it was just a constant, me and him just constantly going back and forth. We're both making adjustments, and at the same time, like I know Philip, and
Yeah.
he spars hard, like he
Yep.
goes hard. So it was a great learning experience, and then it was my first time getting to spar someone with like that European style and dealing with that as well. So it was just a great overall experience. But that was like a real big turning point in my career as well. Like I said, like on the mental side of things, you have to have better self-talk about yourself. So when I came out of that camp, I was more so in the thinking like I am a bad motherfucker, like I can do this,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know. And then that's when I started getting calls, and I know that that's when I met the guys from the Boxing Voice, Ness and Danny.
Good guys.
Yeah, those are my
Yeah.
guys right there. And it just opened up a ton of opportunities for me to really start getting my name out there. Like, Johnny Rice told me they knew who I was when I came out to Vegas, just off of, what they heard about my sparring with Philip. And, Charles Martin, I went to camp with him. He's always said good things about me. So it's been sparring these guys has always been like, I level up every time I come out of camp.
Well, that's a beautiful thing because like you're kind of doing it the old school way. A lot of guys back in the day, they didn't have big amateur careers. They would spar the top guys. Even like right now, like Dave Benavidez is a big name in boxing. He didn't have no big amateur career. His education in boxing was sparring Kelly Pavlik and Golovkin when he was 15, 16 years old.
Exactly, man. Sparring the best. And I mean, it's no better to me, honestly, it's no better way to get ready, for that level of boxing than to get in there and trust yourself and work with these guys and learn from them. Like I don't have no crazy big ego like that. So when I go in there, I'm all ears. Like when I go to camps with these guys, I want to do everything. I'm strength and conditioning.
Yeah.
I want to go through everything with these guys. So, and I realize a lot of people don't do that when they go to these camps. I want to take advantage of everything. I want to learn everything I can. I'm a sponge. So, and my coach encourages me to do it as well. He's like, work with whoever you can and take what you want from it and leave out what you don't. And I think that's what's really helped me, especially this year. It's helped me really grow as a fighter. I spent about 4 months in Vegas this year, and I spent time with, Flick and K over at DLX, and I spent a lot of time over at Salas's gym,
Okay.
and, training with Les Guy and Fernando and Salas and just learning from everyone around me.
Okay, yeah. With all those guys you spar, I'm not gonna ask you the generic like who is the hardest sparring question, but what I do want you to do is that because a lot of times as fight fans, we could watch a fighter and it may look one way on the outside, but as you know so well, when you get in there, it's different. A guy could be way different in the ring than on TV. So like, how would you describe Jared Anderson, Hrgovic, and Joe Joyce, like just as fighters in the ring when you sparred them?
I'll start with Jared. Like I've spent a lot of time sparring with Jared and learning from him. And in my personal opinion, he's the most talented heavyweight I've been in the ring with and have seen. Super athletic, very high work rate. He works very hard. Just the pacing of that sparring has been that in itself is an adjustment. Like compared to sparring with other heavyweights. Like when I go in the camp with him, I know like it's time to flip the switch. I'm like, I know I have a ton of rounds to do, and I know it's going to be a high work rate. And I love that shit because, like I said, like I am a competitor at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And it's never like, we go in there to help each other get better. But at the same time, it is hard sparring. So I would say on Jared's end, most talented, high work rate. The thing with Joe, people always talk about Joe. He's slow, he's this and that. But Joe, one, has a motor on him, which we all know. And even if Joe's tired, he can work at a pace from round 1 all the way to 12. Like
100 punches around, all that whole thing.
Exactly, man. So like that's like the one thing you got to deal with him is like you have to be able to take that, and you have to be it takes a smart fighter to deal with that because a lot of times you can get caught up in a firefight because he's coming at you constantly. You just got to remain calm, pick your shots, and be smart. Figure out how to break his rhythm. You know, like, so that's something I took away from him, you know, just being able to I have to make the adjustment. Like, I'm not going to firefight with you. You know, I need to, you know, be smart here. You know, like that's the thing with him. Filip, like I said, for me, the biggest thing with him was like that style of boxing, that European style. I had to figure it out. And even when I went back and sparred with him before I went back to Vegas, like, I knew what he was going to do, and I still fell for the shit. Like, I was like, oh, man. Like, another mistake that I made, but all it takes is those small mistakes in boxing, you know, for something bad to happen to you. But once again, I learned. But I would say to go what you said from an outside looking in, Charles was a lot tougher to deal with.
Charles Martin,
for sure. Like, you know, and I've said it before. You know, he's the hardest puncher I've been in there with.
I believe that. Actually,
yeah, like
he can crack.
Martin can punch. So, but he was also. I went with him for the Luis Ortiz camp, and he had an awesome camp. That fight, you know, a mistake was made. Luis landed a big shot, but he was a much better than I expected. And Joe Joyce even told me before I went out there with him, he was like, he's a lot better than you might think, you know, because he has a bad rap on the internet, and people always talk. You know, the boxing community, they don't talk shit about a fighter. You know,
all the time.
I'm like, yeah, you say that, but they're also fighting at the highest level, you know, or they have been, you know.
I mean, look, man, there's thousands of heavyweight boxers. He was champion, and even outside of that, he's fought some of the biggest names in the division. The pay grade that you're trying to get to, and a lot of guys trying to get to, he's been there. So
yeah, he's been there.
Can't be that bad.
Yeah, I say he's getting that shit. So, you know, that I would say those are like the little distinguishing things, you know, that I've learned, that I've experienced sparring with those guys. I've also, you know, been in there with Jeremiah Milton, Brian Jennings. Brian Jennings was different. That was, you know, he can punch you with no room. Like, and that was a good experience. You know, Travis Kaufman. Yeah, you know, I've got the chance to share the ring with some really big names.
Yeah, sounds like you're on the right track towards some really good things in 2024, I feel.
Oh, yeah. I think 2024 is really going to be the year that things really open up for me. I think that's when I'm really going to start getting, you know, hopefully getting some national, you know, attention in some way, shape, or form. You know, like these last two fights have done a lot for me. You know, a lot of people, you know, like my performances, and, you know, they speak on my behalf. So, I mean, you can't ask for anything more in boxing than that. You know, like, you want people to get behind you, and you want people to be entertained by you and stuff like that. So 2024 is going to be a big year for me. I'm very excited for it. I feel great about going into the year. Right now, I already have a date lined up. You know, until it's official, you know, I don't want to put it out there.
Can't say nothing, I know.
Yeah, but I plan on having a very busy year in 2024. That's the plan every year, but this year I really feel good about going into this year.
Okay. I was looking at your ranking on Boxrec, because you're not ranking the sanctioning bodies yet. So a lot of times I use the Boxrec ranking to get a gauge on who could be some potential opponents. You're number 146 right now. I'm gonna throw some names out there. I know maybe some of these fights may or may not be realistic, but I just want to pick your brain and see what you think about maybe fighting a couple of these guys. I know you got Dave Allen at number 143. He's right there. You know, what do you think about that fight?
Oh yeah, David Allen. I didn't think is David Allen still competing?
I think he fought. I forgot who he fought. I know I saw him on a card recently. I can't remember who he fought, but you know, I know he's still active.
Mm-hmm.
You got him.
So, yes, throw some other names out there. Let's hear these other names.
Guido Vianello, 120. He's 127th. He's ranked around you.
Yeah, I know Guido. Familiar with Guido. Yeah.
Okay. Sonny Kanto, undefeated, 12-0.
I haven't heard of him. That name's not familiar.
Okay, yeah, he's from. I think he's from Philadelphia. He's fought on a couple of top ranked cards. Undefeated 12-0 guy. Just this week, past weekend, Richard Torrez Jr. He's ranked in and around you. I know you know that name.
Yeah. Honestly, I'm I'll fight anybody as long as the business
I got
business
you.
side makes sense. I don't want to come in there into a bad situation, but those are all names I would be interested in fighting. Especially as I keep moving up in the ranks and keep getting fights under my belt. I think I'm gonna take. Like I said, I talked to my coach and the team the other day. It's about, for me, since I had no amateur career and I have had a chance to spar with some of the best, I wanted to get comfortable in the ring.
Got you.
And with these last 2 fights, I felt a lot more comfortable in my ability and being able to go in there and remain comfortable and do what I wanted to do, instead of feeling just the rush of everything coming at me. Because even I'm pretty sure you've seen my fight and covered my fight that I had in February against Khalil Carter.
Yeah, I think it was your third pro fight.
Yeah, that was my third pro fight.
On the zone. You fought Scrappy Mirrors on that card. I think he might have been the main event.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna say I got heavily criticized. I got mostly good feedback from it. But when people see heavyweights, they always like, oh, it's gonna be a slugfest, it's gonna be that. Like, I'm not that. I can punch with both hands. I got power in both hands, but I also feel like I got some really good boxing ability. And, in that fight, I went out there and I stuck to the game plan. There's things that I learned, like I could have pushed the issue. I feel like I could have got him out of there if I pushed the issue, but I went out there and followed the game plan and I jabbed him, 1-2 to the death.
Use your feet pretty well.
Yeah. Like I can use my feet, even being as big as I am. I'm 6'4", 265 pounds. I can move and I can box and I'm getting even better. Like that was a huge turning point for me there. And in between that layoff, that's what I focused on, So I went into my fourth fight and put a little bit more pressure on box, felt him out. And then I'm like, okay, I'm about to stop this guy. Even my fight last weekend, it was one of those situations I went into it. I wasn't feeling great going in there, but I trusted my ability. I trusted myself, and I went in there and performed. And I was just working until he showed me everything I needed to see. And, I put my foot on the gas and stopped him as well. So that's a part, like creating that comfortability in the ring has been my biggest thing. And once I'm fully comfortable, which I feel I'm really getting there, all those names you name, we can fight them and we can keep moving forward. Like I have championship aspirations. I've talked to Jared about fighting him.
Okay, I like that. I like that.
Like even like that's my guy, but at the same time, I do want to compete. Me and him talked about fighting, and that's what I want. I have championship aspirations. I feel like I can make it to the top as long as I do my part and stay dedicated and work hard, stay focused, and trust my team and myself. And, the sky's the limit when you can do that.
No, absolutely. It's got to remain being a professional, disciplined individual, and you'll be all right.
Yeah, exactly. And that's something that's been a process learning that as well.
I heard same here. This may or may not be a dumb question, but I figured I'd ask it. I noticed in your second pro fight, you weighed in at 225 pounds. I know you've been like in the 260s your last couple fights. Would you ever consider a move to bridgeweight? Because you were right there at that limit. The bridgeweight limit's at 224.
Yeah, they got that wrong. My opponent was 225.
Oh,
I was 264 my second pro fight.
That didn't make sense because I've seen you in person. I said, "There's no way in hell he's 225." Because you're a big guy.
Yeah, bro. I haven't been under 230 pounds since I was like 15 years old, bro.
Okay.
So bridgeweight, I don't see bridgeweight being in my future, man. Even like when I got sick and had COVID, I lost like 32 pounds. I couldn't eat, and I was still over 240 pounds.
All right, so I
don't see myself getting that low, man.
Okay, that's good to know. That's good. Boxrec, tighten up. You're not 225.
Yeah, for sure. They definitely is. When I seen that myself, and they put that was my opponent's weight. He was 225.
Okay. As far as I was you did this one podcast, and I listened to a little bit. I forgot the guy's name, but it had like a 2-hour long podcast. And y'all are talking about all kinds of stuff. What are your interests outside of boxing? That's a question I'd ask. Because
Okay, so that's actually a really good question, man.
Okay.
I would say when I first jumped into the sport, full time, like this was my life. Like it's go to the gym and come home. Like that's all it was. I would say once I started going to camp, I want to say it was the first camp I did with Joe earlier this year for the first Zhang fight. It made me realize I'm like, I gotta go out and have fun, because I started finding myself like just not enjoying anything really. So now I try to find time to spend time with my family, actually enjoy the time with my teammates, because it's more than boxing, we're friends, so I want to
Absolutely.
enjoy more time with them. And I do game, so a
You a
lot of times,
gamer?
yeah, a lot of times I jump on the game with my homeboys, and that's how I spend some of my free time.
What do y'all
Or
play?
man, we play a bunch of stuff, man. Recently, I haven't really been playing much. I like RPGs, so
Okay.
I'm a God of War, Horizon Zero Dawn, The Witcher type guy myself.
Okay.
I've been on GTA just bullshitting recently. I played some Call of Duty. I touch a little bit of everything, but
Okay.
right now, like, I enjoy experiencing new things, go like traveling, going to new places and experiencing new places.
That's always fun.
Yeah, game with my homeboys, trying new foods and stuff like that. Like that's something I'm starting to gain more interest in. But really, boxing still eats up most of my time in my life. So
Yeah, I know that's a thing that a lot of fighters do struggle with, because I know a lot of fighters, so I know like they say that sometimes like it's just boxing, 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 and they don't know how to turn the switch off and maybe get their mind on something else for even if it's for a day or a couple hours. They don't know how to just be away for a little bit. And I always tell them like, look, that believe it or not, that's actually kind of a form of training, because you're disciplining your mind to turn on and off, and you're gonna need to learn how to do that when you get to the higher levels of boxing.
yeah, that it is rough. Like I told my coach, because I haven't really taken a break this year. Like it's been, even though I haven't been fighting, I've either been in camp with another fighter helping them get ready, or I've been getting ready for fights, but they fall out, or we can't get an opponent or something. So I'm always constantly training. And it showed when I came back from the fight with Joe's camp, the second camp for Zane 2. Like I was just mentally just beat. Like I was like, man, I need a break. So I sat down for a week and took a time. And I really didn't do nothing but sleep. And then went and spent time with my family, like. And the last day of my break, they hit me up. They was like, "We got you an opponent. This is for like, it's locked in for certain." So
Okay.
I'm right back into it. But it's very, like I told myself after I fought twice in the last 4 weeks, and I never sat down. I kind of just like been on go mode. And I told my coach, I'm about to take like 4 days off. And the next day, I was ready to go back to the gym. I was like, man, I feel like I want to go to the gym, and like I feel like I got to be doing something towards it. But that's just because I have an aspiration to get better. Like I'm trying to get better.
No.
But it's hard. It's a hard thing to do, man. I haven't necessarily found like my thing yet to occupy me in between that time, but I am looking for it.
Okay, we'll keep
Yeah.
looking. There's a lot of interesting things to do in the world. I know that's a problem I have sometimes, like because I'm always like boxing, 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 boxing. I got to make something happen, or I feel like I'm not doing anything. But yeah, every now and then, I live in South Florida, so I go to the beach sometimes and try to just be at peace.
Yeah, I just see, and I wish I don't live near the beach.
Yeah,
Every once in a while, I try to go on a walk or something, go sit at the lake or something like that.
that helps.
Yeah, something just to get out of that, that same spinning wheel that we're all stuck in when we're trying to be great.
No, yeah, I hear everything you're saying. That's me as well. So
Yep.
I get it. I get it. On that same podcast, you guys are talking a lot about relationships with women. You seem like you have some insights on that. You got any relationship advice out there for the fighters or people trying to be successful in life?
So what, that's crazy that you asked that, man. That was hilarious.
Because I was just fast forwarding through the interview, and I happened to fast forward and stop at that part, and I'm like, "Oh, this is interesting." So I sat there for like 10 minutes, and I was just listening to it. I said, "Man, this guy's well versed. Might have some gems to drop."
Like that was not to veer too far off boxing.
I got you.
Bro, but,
I got you.
like that was my past relationships and how I dealt with women then. Of
Oh,
course, a
okay.
lot of things have changed since that
The interview.
that podcast, like back in April. You know, like I have, you know, tried to put myself out there a little bit more. You know,
Yeah.
since then, like I said, I get caught up so much in boxing. I don't ever cared about anything else. I live my life. Like I had fun in my life already. I'm 30, so I already had that fun before.
Yeah.
Before I committed to the sport. But you know, like I've met a girl, and you know, she's changed my perspective since then. You know, like
Okay.
I've had some stuff that made me realize I've grown a lot since my last relationship, but then in certain areas, you know, I still suck. You know, so it takes I would say, like in boxing, it takes a very understanding woman
Yes.
be able to ride with a fighter, you know, and deal with us as fighters, especially
The
especially at a
ups
high.
and downs, you know.
Exactly, you know, like fighters, we're all different, but it takes a woman who's a ride or die to really go through that with you, you know, like because you know, as you're going through it, they go through it in their own way. You
Absolutely.
know, like that's as deep as I get into that.
I got you. I got you. We won't spend too much time on that, but
Yeah.
I just thought it was interesting. I know what you mean in the heavyweight division. I know, you know, we got that really interesting heavyweight card coming up out there in Saudi. Well, before I even ask about the fights, actually, what do you think about maybe you fighting in Saudi one day? Because that seems like that's where big time boxing is kind of going.
That's where I'm trying to get, man. I want to go out there and introduce myself and meet these guys and you know, really shake hands. Like I've been really big on networking. Like I try to go and be around everything, weigh-ins, press conferences, everything I could be a part of. I try to go there because you just never know who you're going to meet.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
I'm very excited for that card though, and it just shows you when you get a lot of money involved, what can happen. Like honestly, it's like seeing all these promoters working together and talking good about each other for the first time.
Eddie Hearn and Frank Warren are friends now. Like
like that just shows you the type of power Saudi has and how willing they are to get behind boxing. And I don't know the ins and outs, but it can't. I wouldn't necessarily say it could be bad for boxing, but it's great to see all these guys getting paid. And this is probably the most stacked card we've ever seen. Honestly, you know, it's full of headliners. You got, you know, they got at least 3 or 4 headliner fights on there. And then the undercard fights, everybody on there is a contender or a champion. It's, you know, or right there, you know, so, and then the pay-per-view price is only $40 here in the States. So you can't,
it's a good deal.
Can't beat that. Exactly. Like you can't beat what they're trying to do for the sport of boxing. And I love to see it, honestly. And like I said, I want to go over there and fight in Saudi and be a part of that as well.
Okay, yeah, gotta talk to them princes and get that Arab money.
Yeah, bro, that money over there is crazy, man. So, and then you know, like you said, it's all about competitive fights. You know, like it's not just, you know, they're just putting on a fight just upon a fight. Like they want the best fighting the best, or the top guys fighting the top guys, and that's what we're getting from over there. So I'm not mad at it at all.
Yeah. I think a lot of it too is that I think they do want to promote boxing, but I think also it's like they're trying to get people to come to their country and travel there. So they want to make sure that the events they put on are up to par, so that it entices more people to say, "Hey, I want to go to Saudi for a fight or whatever."
Yeah, I'm even hearing that the Fear and Usyk card is going to be stacked. You know, like I've heard some rumors floating around. I'm just like, that card is going to be stacked too. So I love what they're doing, you know, and especially for the heavyweight division. Like they're making, like out of Wallin and Joshua, that's a risky fight for Joshua. Like I think that's a good fight. Joseph Parker for Deontay Wilder, like that's a good fight. You know, like so I'm happy to see. I'm excited for that fight, man. I'm really excited for that whole entire card.
Yeah. Who are you favoring in those two heavyweight fights? Joshua and Wallin and Usyk and Parker. How do you see those fights?
I think Joshua is gonna have his hands full. Wallin is better than I think people give him credit for. You know, 6'6", southpaw.
Kind of similar to you a little bit.
Yeah. Tough guy. I've helped people get ready for Wallin. A lot of times people use me to get ready for Zane, but
Okay.
anytime a southpaw's fighting, I usually get a call. But I think that's a tough fight for Joshua. I think Joshua can pull it off. People talk bad about him his last fight, but I actually thought he went out there and looked sharp. He just wasn't very aggressive.
Yeah.
But his shots were coming off real nice. If you add a little bit of aggression to that, like Joshua could look like a new fighter and someone who is ready to challenge for the belts again. But I'm favoring Joshua in it, of course. And if you want to see Wilder and Joshua fight, we need Joshua to win.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't in no way be surprised if Wilder could pull it off. Wilder, even with the long layoff, I think, him and Malik have been doing good work. And I think that's an entertaining fight. Like Joseph Parker isn't a pushover, and he can punch.
Former world champion,
Yeah, he's a world champion. He can box, he can punch. So that's another good fight. I see Wilder. I mean, like Wilder said, he needs to be perfect for a second. And, I want to see how Wilder has, if he's added anything to his game. Even with him being older, I feel like it's, when Malik teaching him that post, using that jab to post people up, like that's a dangerous thing for you to let Wilder do that. So, I'm excited to see that.
Yeah,
I'm favoring Wilder and Joshua in both of those fights.
Okay. Yeah, I'm really excited about Wilder using that post as well because he had the one camp with Malik for the third Fury fight. They fought Helenius, but he didn't really get any rounds because it ended so quickly. So hopefully, I think this will go some rounds because Joseph Parker's a high level fighter. Yeah, hopefully we see a new and improved Wilder because that is the one fight I think for this era heavyweight boxing they got to kind of put it to bed, because it's been so many years.
Yeah, and then you look at the year that we've had in boxing. Like we've had a great year in almost every weight division except for the heavyweights. Like the heavyweights have kind of been like excluded from that in a way. Like we didn't get to see the best fighting the best in the heavyweight division necessarily. Especially with those top three guys. But I feel like this is a great card, great fights for them. And next year, I think that we're going to see Fury and Usyk in February, and I think that we will, Joshua and Wilder pull it off. We'll be seeing them by mid-year.
Okay, yeah, and that'd be a huge, just massive boost for the sport in your weight class.
Exactly, and that's what we need. I still, the heavyweight division has a lot of good talent in it still outside of those guys. You got myself. I see you guys post about Lorenzo Medina, slick guy. Yeah.
Local guy.
Yeah. There's this guy out of Croatia named Luka. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. He's still an amateur.
Okay.
But I think he's going to be turning pro. He's nice, man.
Were you out there with him when you were with Hrgovic? When you were supposed to spar Hrgovic?
I met him when he actually came out here to Houston. He's a southpaw as well, like 6'6" southpaw, strong, tough dude. You got him, and a lot of good young prospects coming into the sport, and I think that it's still going to be a division to be looked for once Fury and Joshua and Wilder move on.
Absolutely. I forgot to ask about Usyk Fury. Last one, and then we'll move on. But Usyk and Fury, obviously, really big fight for boxing. First fight for the undisputed championship since Lennox Lewis and Holyfield fought all those years ago. How do you see that one?
I'm leaning towards Fury, of course, but a big part of why I'm leaning towards Fury is just because how big he is.
Yeah, size.
People keep trying to say like, oh, he looked like this against Ngannou and this and that. I'm like, but Usyk doesn't punch like Ngannou. He's not as big as Ngannou, so it's going to be a different type of fight. Usyk is a very skilled, fast, and smart fighter, and I do think that he has a chance. I think people are writing Usyk off, and they shouldn't.
No.
Usyk's not one to write off. He's a very tough guy. And then when I seen him go face to face, he's not as short next to Fury as I, imagine in my head. So I'm leaning towards Fury, but I'm expecting it to be a competitive, good fight. But I think Fury's going to end up being too big for him. And then I'm just curious to see what Fury does. Like, I don't know if he's going to go out there and try and lean on him and use his weight, or if he's going to try to box with him. it's all going to be up to Fury, I think, on how this fight really goes.
Yeah, that'd be interesting to see him try to outbox Alexander Usyk. I like to see him try that one.
Yeah, I mean, but the thing with the length that he has, like, it would be. I don't think that he will. I don't know what he's going to do. I actually want to try to go to camp with Fury for this and help him get ready for that fight. So, I'm about to have my people reach out to him and see if I can get in there and get that experience. I know I'm going to camp with somebody.
Yeah, for that fight.
Yeah, within the next couple of weeks. I know I'll be out there, but I prefer to go out there at Fury and get that experience, with someone at the highest level.
No, absolutely. Should be a really good fight. I feel like one thing about Usyk is not so much like I think the fight's interesting because of like the mental side of the fight. Like I don't think Fury's fought anybody who's as mentally strong in his boxing career as Usyk.
You know what? I never thought of that either, but I believe that as well. Like Usyk's different. I'm a big fan of Usyk, so that's another very interesting thing to see as well. Because I think Usyk's coming to fight. I don't think he should be written off in any way, shape, or form like these people are. And like you said, I think it's going to be a good fight. We're going to finally see an undisputed heavyweight champion, unless it goes like a draw or something.
Well, they do have a rematch clause, so that's possible.
Yeah, you never really know. It's a sport of boxing, so you never know what's going to happen. But like I said, lean towards Fury, expecting a great fight.
Okay. Well, Zach, I pretty much ran through everything I wanted to run through. But before I end the interview, is there any final message you want to give the box world about yourself? Anything you got coming up? Just anything? Any final message?
One thing I want to say is I appreciate everyone who has supported me and shown me love throughout this journey. It's been an amazing one so far, and I plan on making it a big 2024. And, for all my new supporters that are going to come in, it's a big year. I'm excited to showcase my abilities and hopefully entertain y'all to the highest level and grow in this sport and, hopefully be fighting for a world championship. At the end of the year, maybe that's really pushing it, but 2025, I got, like I said,
you're trying to move, man. I like that.
Aspirations to be the best, and learn every aspect of the sport on the business and on my side of the fight game. So I really do appreciate everybody's support. Y'all can follow me on IG at Zach Spiller, ZachSpiller, to keep up with my journey. And I appreciate my guy Brandon over here at True School. It's been a long time coming, and y'all subscribe to my guy, man. He covers so much in boxing, even the little stuff that most people wouldn't pay attention to. You cover it.
I appreciate that, man. Yeah.
I found out about a lot of people just off following you, man, in this sport. So, much appreciation to you for actually doing the sport some justice.
I try, man. That's what I got into the sport for. So I'm glad I'm doing that for people. So
yeah, bro. I love that. I love what you're doing, man, and I love to see you growing as well, man. I love seeing people grow as I grow. So it's been a blessing going through the sport and meeting everybody I have, and I really appreciate you having me on, giving me this interview.
Yeah, you know what? Whenever you want to come back on, all you gotta do is just give me the word, and I'll make the time.
Yeah, bro. I definitely would love to come back on, man. Hopefully in the middle of next year, once I get some shit shaken, really move up in the ranks, we can definitely sit down and have another interview, bro. I'm excited for myself. I'm excited for you and everybody in the boxing business. Hopefully, 2024 is even bigger than 2023.
I believe it will be. God willing, I believe it will be.
Yeah, same.
Zach Spiller, thank you for talking to True School Sports.
Appreciate y'all.